Hello, South Africa. My name is Ngila Michael Mwendani, the Deputy President of the Pan-Africanist Congress of Azania, otherwise known as the PAC. 2013 marked the end of 100 years since the law, the notorious law called the Native Land Act, was promulgated in the racist South African Parliament, which dispossessed the African people completely of their land, dispossessed all the communities, African communities, of their land and their rights to land. The PAC wants to use 2014 elections to put the land question smack in the center of the discussions and the campaigning, smack in the center of what people talk about in this country. Let us not continue to lie to each other. We know who the land belonged to. We know who took the land away. We know what it is used for. We know why the land is used for those purposes. And there have been so many lies around that. And one of the lies is that when we talk about land, we're talking about agricultural land only. We're not only talking about agricultural land. Yes, agricultural land is very, very important and primary. However, there are other uses of land that the African people have been excluded from. Industrial land, for instance. They cannot start their businesses or build factories without land. Commercial land, residential land, they have no housing. They can't build their own respectable houses and dignified houses because they have no land. And their children go to school under trees. So there's no land for schools. There's no land also to bury their dead. And there's no land for recreation. Fisheries, they can fish. They've got to go through stringent exercises or stringent procedures to catch fish. The land is also part of the air that we breathe. So land is about all that. So people in Soweto must not say that they are not concerned about land because they don't farm. They need land for housing. They need land for their graves. They need land even to kneel down and pray, for goodness sake. So land is at the center of a community's life. Land is at the center of society's life. Land is at the center of life in South Africa. Which is the reason that the PAC is going to call for a land summit where everybody that is concerned about land is going to come together and congregate and discuss the question of land, what the solutions are towards land, the solutions that will benefit everybody. And that summit will be a precursor to a law that is going to be introduced by the PAC in Parliament this year. And that will be called the African Communities Landlords Act. The African Communities Landlords Act, which will replace the existing law or the existing act, which is called the Land Claims Act, because the Land Claims Act is following a red herring. It is unrealistic and it has not worked for anybody. It just creates expectations that cannot be fulfilled. And once expectations are not fulfilled, people feel deprived. People feel dispossessed. And people feel that there is no freedom. Which is true, there is no freedom without land, without land rights. So the African Communities Landlords Act will replace those rights to the people. And the money the rent that will accrue from those rights will be used for schools, education in other words. It will be used for roads as opposed to toll gates. It will be used for infrastructure development. It will be used for all kinds of things because there's such a lot of money that has accrued in the form of rent through the usage of these. Now, we have a new situation where foreigners come in here, into South Africa, to buy land And sooner or later, I can assure you, South Africans will find that they have no land that they can call their own. And anybody who owns land controls the country. There's no two ways about it. The PAC, therefore, is coming with a solid, comprehensive, and viable solution, that of the Land Summit, to discuss this among ourselves as Africans, and coming up with an act that will have procedures, rules, and ways of giving land to people to use in such a way that it is orderly. But what is primary and non-negotiable are the land rights of the people from whom land was taken. And we know who took the land from whom and for what reason. So watch this space during the elections.